How are
So
you?
Maybe
Sorry,
we
it's
need
very
maybe we need better banter before.
We're like, who's we're gonna talk shit about?
yeah,
This podcast called The State of Music and Tech.
yeah,
We should probably say that.
yeah.
Okay, let's start again. Hi, I'm Lauren Blitzer-Wright. Welcome to the podcast for Lone Wolves, The State of Music and Tech.
Yeah. And today we're the state of music, tech, and gaming.
And it just keeps getting better.
Yeah. Yeah. So gaming is a really interesting sector when it comes to music.
Mm-hmm.
Some stats about gaming that I generally knew, but just looked up. There are approximately 3.2 billion gamers. That is a 40% of the global population. And I know
I can believe that.
and
That's one of the stats that I hear, and I'm like, yeah, I
that-
actually
that
believe that.
that counts like, oh, I'm on the subway and I'm like playing a dumb game on the phone.
Right. Candy
So,
Crush.
yeah, anything. So it's a wide range of defining a gamer.
Right.
But it's also now a $190 billion industry. For years, gaming has been sneakily big. It's bigger than Hollywood, bigger than film and TV combined. And I think historically music was a little slow
Mhm.
to recognize that. And we will get into that a little bit later. We have two guests today.
Mhm.
One of them, Colin Yost, is the VP of Digital and Gaming for Republic.
Nice.
He was with me at Sony when we started a gaming venture, which we'll talk about a little
I
bit.
remember.
And then another startup founder named Nick Venti, who has a new company called Tiger AI. It's an adaptive gaming music company.
Mm.
So we'll talk to him in a bit. But you have a lot of experience in this world too.
I do. So my last few years at Sony Music, we had actually hired a VP of gaming partnerships because it was starting to be like a thing. That was a brand new position.
Okay. And this was at Sony corporate, or
This is at Sony Global Digital Business, so like centralized hub at Sony. He was hired basically to kind of formalize how we could potentially create revenue on music and gaming, which is actually like an incredibly difficult thing, as it turns out, because these larger platforms like Roblox don't want to license music.
yeah,
They want to partner with small companies, like I think they partnered with DistroKid, and basically offer small emerging artists the opportunity to be on their platform for free with as a plus of like, look, you get access to these millions of people.
oh yeah,
It's actually pretty shitty.
oh yeah, right, DistroKid. And then they were like, if you belong to a PRO, you can't take advantage of that. Which, like, every artist, I think I've said this in my podcast before.
That's like smart artistry. It's
You
like,
can release music, you should sign up for a PRO.
obviously,
Or else you won't collect.
what they're trying to do is like put some shitty music on that I think there's a statistic that we all know is that people actually do listen to music while they're gaming. Like PlayStation a long time ago did a deal with Spotify so that it was on the console. That was their partnership. They had playlisting. There was a really like smart move to be able to allow people to listen to whatever they wanted to while they were playing on their PlayStation.
Yeah.
So Roblox historically is not great with supporting creators in general. Their rev shares for creators on the platform are very favorable for Roblox and not at all for the creators.
Yeah.
Whether you're selling something, you have a more favorable rev share in their actual store, the Roblox store. But worse in the store, better in your own world. So my experience with gaming is a lot with Roblox. So we got we got a lot of money.
3 point, how many million?
Got a lot of money from Roblox to do as a content fund to start experimenting with music on the platform.
So, and why would Roblox voluntarily give you that?
Because we sued them.
Okay.
And they had to.
Okay.
It was like a settlement for some illegal usage of music. So because they don't have PRO set up inside of Roblox, you basically have to clear every track for like a sync.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So we did like 7 or 8 events within Roblox. And I don't think the learnings are this wasn't the right way to do it. People go to Roblox for very gamified experiences. You do this, you win that. You buy this, it ups, you get this power to do that. We decided to do virtual concerts. So we would build out a stage. The only one that was super successful was Lil Nas X because it was Lil Nas X. But we built out like this experience where people come in, they do a few things, they get a free backpack, and then the concert was live for an hour and then it would repeat the next day. There's no reason for people to go back to that space after it's done.
And it's not like the concert's on loop for a while, right? They did it twice.
They could repeat it a few times, but it's still there's no reason to really go back unless you're getting a free item in there or you love the artist. It's like it didn't work out. And when we started, the cost to build something was reasonable. By the time we ended, it had tripled.
So that's interesting because usually dev costs go down as tech matures. So why was it more expensive?
Dev costs went up because there was a higher demand. So they were like, oh, now more people are building, more people are in the space looking to build out. We're going to charge $250,000 instead of the 70 we paid for the first experience.
So that is the Roblox cost that they could control.
No, it's third-party devs.
Okay.
That we used. So they go and build.
That was the demand for the third party. Okay.
Right. So the lesson is the only way to really integrate music into Roblox is if they do a licensing deal.
Yeah.
And then people can listen to whatever they want or do a Spotify API, like something where you're able to access music. But right now they have no interest. They have no interest at all.
That's interesting. And the licensing piece is like, so I wanted to ask you, why do you think Roblox doesn't want to license music? I suspect it's because it's just a huge pain in the ass to deal with rights holders and they don't think they need it.
Potentially it's a really good question because there was always pushback every time Alex would ask them. But I wanted just to go back to the events for a second. So let's say we had 5 songs from George Ezra that he was going to perform in this space. We had to pay to clear his music. So his own record label had to pay to clear his own music on the master and publishing side.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's weird. It's a weird conversation.
It's weird.
So they wouldn't even pitch in to cover the music.
So Central Sony had to go to Columbia and be like, can we cheer?
And negotiate our own company.
Yeah.
And whoever the publisher was.
That's funny.
I think we have this budget for it. We're going to take X amount of dollars out to do it. But that was a big part of these activations was, okay, and now we have to clear music for our own artists. Like we are never supposed to do that.
There's some precedents in the industry of that. Like, often you'll see A&R bidding between labels under the same hood. Like Atlantic will be bidding for an artist, so will Warner's, and
which is like different because you're getting them into your space to then monetize. There was a pretty strict rule of like we do not clear publishing as a record label, and I did it a few times for like Sony headquarters because it was like in the family and they didn't know how to do it. But to have to do that for like a Roblox
for an artist,
this isn't like a new platform. It's a giant platform. There's a resistance to go about like properly putting music up on the platform.
Yeah. So I have a friend, Ian Geller, who's one of the head of biz dev at Spotify. He was with band Pandora. He just announced a Spotify EA Sports deal, or EA, not EA Sports, EA General. And it took him so long to get this deal done, just to have the Spotify API in EA property so fans could listen, because the licensing sucks. And I had an experience with that when I was at Pandora, and we brought in a woman from brought in a woman from Microsoft to run our music ventures, and she didn't really understand how the music industry worked, and it was a tough 2 years.
Yeah,
having Pandora licensing music to launch an on-demand service and do brand partnerships, and then she went over to Twitch to be the CEO of Twitch. As soon as she got there, she's like, "I'm not fucking negotiating with rights holders anymore. I'm not doing that again.
No,
Twitch is just going to be live. We're not going to archive or content anything. I don't want to deal with the rights holders. So
it's just like
we'll just gonna work around it. We're gonna maybe if it is an individual program, we'll clear it if we need to, or it's the creators are gonna have to clear stuff if they want to use it.
But nothing's on demand, so
there's no need to clear it. So I completely understand why, if you're Roblox and you're growing exponentially and you have this very valuable ecosystem, why slow yourself down with working with pesky rights holders who.
But you're not really slowing yourself down. I think it would be a huge boost and retention would be higher if they did offer music. And it's like, do that in parallel to the other, they've had some issues too. Like there's a lot of like pedophiles coming into chats, and, they have to be really careful about the way that people communicate with each other within the ecosystem, because there's a lot of young kids. Like my kids are 12 and I could put a 13 plus filter or 13, 8 to 13 filter on it, but there's still ways to get around it, and it's scary. So, they have their own issues there, but this is like totally different topic. But I do think that there's a path for them to also show that they are a creator centric marketplace. So even if it's selling, let's say it's like selling MP3s where you're able to like save them in your like Roblox account, and you're actually like buying little CDs or whatever, and has a track on it that your avatar can play while you're walking around. That's an option, but that was also still like negotiating those terms was just not an option.
And it was just probably not worth it. At the end of the day, Sony doesn't want you to do thing that's precedential without a major deal in place. They won't make a deal.
And then when you look at Fortnite too, it's like they're actually at least embracing artists and doing like these Travis Scott, Ariana Grande, like these bigger activations that get millions of eyes. They sell virtual merch. They work with the artist, the labels. They really plan this at a time. So that's their like marquee stuff. And then they started incorporating tracks into their marketplace.
Wait, who's our Fortnite guy?
Who's our who?
We have a Fortnite guy, the Lego Fortnite.
Oh, shoot, wait, don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
My children are obsessed with video games. So I'm just going to move this back a little bit so we could put Peely Bones from Fortnite that my son George built.
So this is like emblematic though, because what we found when we started a gaming division at Sony, and we'll bring in Colin from Republic, who was with me at Sony, we did this. Gaming fans are massive collectibles. And it was the kind of thing that like, it's very insular program. So Colin, I always had a A&R for Masterworks, and then Colin had this idea because he's a gamer and he loves the space, and to really start this kind of gaming vertical there. But he had a lot of credibility because he knew the properties and he got it.
Yep.
And he was able to go around to all the different publishers and speak credibly where I would not. And as a result, we ended up doing a lot of almost old school music industry stuff, like lots of vinyl, lots of like merch items.
Right, you need like physical goods.
Yeah, because he's
so not.
He's good. We licensed Japanese breakfast from Secretly Canadian to do for her to score a game called Sable.
That's cool.
And that just doesn't happen. I mean, Secretly Canadian doesn't license their artists out.
Yeah.
We had a fluency and expertise in the gaming sector. She's a huge gamer, Michelle, of his Japanese breakfast, and we pressed a ton of vinyl and some vinyl, and so it's really interesting. I'm not surprised that there's like this physical manifestation of Peely.
Yeah.
That your kids are engaged.
Like a Lego partnership.
Yeah.
So anything Fortnite t-shirts at Walmart, like there is, I think that adds to like the revenue drivers of gaming, of the gaming industry in general. But the music piece of it can be even more explosive if they do more partnerships like that.
Yeah. So Colin will come in and talk about, she's going to talk about the gaming like state of it and like how he thinks about music and gaming, the opportunity. And then we'll bring in Nick, who has an adaptive AI gaming company. Cool. So if you think about gaming film scores, or gaming scores like film scores or gaming soundtracks, we did a lot of those at Sony, just like we would with a normal Hollywood film score or soundtrack. So some of them we got about the music supervision for them, but a lot of what the what Nick's trying to solve for is there are these massive explosion in gaming, and they need music, but the gameplay is specific and bespoke to each person. So how do you score that environment when the music has to change? And that's one of the things that AI is uniquely capable of doing, is iterating on a piece of music to expand it, contract it, and react to gameplay. And I know that's what he was working on with his first company. And we're going to get into what his new venture is. I think it's similar, but he's going to talk about the way that how he's serving the need for all this gaming music, because as you said, like licensing it is going to be too much of a pain with rights holders. This bespoke syncs are annoying, and labels haven't been paying attention enough to it.
Hi, Colin.
Hey, Lauren.
Thank you for joining us. And I haven't seen you in a few years since you left Sony.
Yeah. Well, I left Sony. Well, you probably haven't seen me since I moved to LA first, and
I know.
then
Oh, that's right. You moved to LA first.
yeah. So it's been a little bit.
Wow. How you doing? How's sunny LA?
It's sunny. It's beautiful.
It's
It wasn't for a while actually. This is kind of the first part of May where we finally got some
oh,
sun.
that's nice. Well, we're in like that rainy season in New York, so not great.
Yeah, yeah.
But honestly, thank you for joining. Nicole, it's low battery. Thank you for joining us on our podcast. And it is so nice to talk to you as somebody who is at a major label right now working in the gaming space, because I have so many questions for you based on my last experience at Sony in gaming, which was really focused on Roblox. And I'm curious to know if there's any movement in that space and kind of what you're seeing overall in the music gaming space.
Yeah, we do a lot of work with Roblox. The cool thing about that platform is it is very, I'll just say DIY, right? It is kind of build what you want out of that platform. Something I personally love about it, unlike a big platform like Fortnite or a Minecraft, something like that, it takes a lot of heavy lifting also from the partner side. More so with Roblox, we can just hire a third-party developer, build the experience, and kind of get the traffic ourselves. So we are pretty busy in that space. The platform itself has changed a lot, even just a couple of years. We have the number one artist experience on there called Twice Square for the K-pop group Twice. And we're going to be doing some work on that this year to even just update that. It came out in 2023, so it's only a couple of years old. But the platform has changed so much that we're going to have to do some major updates soon.
What about the K-pop experience is it like the game mechanics of it? Like what about that experience has made it the most successful?
Well, I don't know if there's like a straight answer. It was definitely one of the earlier ones. I think one of the early kind of big artist experiences that came to that platform. And I think it was just a healthy mix of there are a ton of K-pop fans on the platform. It's the right age group. It's the right demo. It's a global platform. And just the aesthetic of Twice Square. It's pink. We when it first launched, there was a lot of wigs and costumes and things for your avatar that at the time were kind of still pretty new. So like we, did a lot of free UGC item giveaways. And I think that just helped drive a bunch of traffic in the beginning. And then people just stuck around because it just fit the vibe of what was on the platform, and it's kind of stuck around.
That's cool. That's awesome. We tried a bunch of different things it was more like centered around one artist's like performance that would be played again. And that was tough because it's like you spend a lot of time building that out and getting people there and offering them a free item, but then like there's really no reason to come back. Yeah. So it was like we would spend this money on the build and then like that was it for like sort of like that one moment.
Yeah, it's definitely a waning strategy to just take some funds and try to take a chance and build an experience. Now it's just it's saturated and it's
totally
so much on these platforms now, but it worked out then, and we've kind of just when you have something that hits, strike while the iron's hot, and so that's kind of what we've done. Yeah,
very cool. And in terms of like how you see the industry shifting, I know obviously there's like if you look statistically, there's like so many gamers globally. And I'm interested to hear from you, like how you see them. I know that gamers love to listen to the music that they want to listen to. Like when PlayStation had the Spotify platform on PlayStation devices, which was really like a novel thing to do. How do you see this, like the convergence of music and gaming sort of like coming together and continuing to grow over the next few years?
Well, there's definitely, I don't know if you saw, there was a headline that came out within the last couple of weeks, I'm pretty sure. I know EA Sports maybe specifically is looking to try and do things new with Spotify in their games. I think they're starting with FC, which is formerly known as FIFA. There is this big push towards even the gaming industry, at least if they're close with working with the music industry, they can even understand that. I think there's now a pretty big tipping point, or maybe just a plateau point for streaming in general, all these DSPs. And so there is this opportunity now to push forward and look at how you can have more engaging ways of interacting with music in games, interactive and engaging ways with music on these platforms. And I think that's what a lot of these platforms are trying to do in their own way. I mean, Fortnite's strategy is obviously very different to EA, which is very different to Roblox and all these big platforms. You know, some are doing it more straight down the road, like, oh, you know, we have a big game that comes out once a year and let's just plug in a music players. Some are getting more innovative with it. But there is this big push towards what is like this like 2.0 of streaming, which is another kind of buzzword that's going around the music industry right now, streaming 2.0, right? So I think even the gaming industry is looking at how they could be included in that streaming 2.0 and what that looks like. And certainly from my perspective and from, you know, the executives kind of looking over my shoulder, there's that same push of we feel like gaming is going to be part of that conversation.
Oh, that's really interesting. I feel like it took a little while to get to that point, but that's really cool because I just recall like the resistance to doing like even a Spotify API in Roblox, or like trying to integrate music in a way that felt like more accessible to people who are playing. Because my kids play Roblox and like I hear that same like track that they put in most of like the toilet tower defense games. It's just like not good. And I think about like the fact that you could actually put some good music in these games would be like a lot more pleasurable, even for the adults that have to listen to it. But, you know, I think that, you know, with such big global audiences within Fortnite and within Roblox and Minecraft, there's such a ripe opportunity to deliver music.
Yeah. I mean, they spend so many hours there. They're there with their friends. It's a community. They're already chatting with their friends either through Discord or, you know, the game console, whatever it is they're playing on. And yeah, it's the perfect space to experience music and talk about music together. And you are seeing there's many examples, whether it's Roblox or there's a game Tokaboka we work with. I mean, there's so many examples where we've tried things where we see so much action happening within the game itself. I mean, hundreds of millions of plays or interactions and content being shared, but it all kind of gets stuck within that ecosystem and doesn't really seem to, you know, flush out and go back to DSPs or TikTok or anything like that. And so that's also where this need is to say, well, how do we make this more incorporated, and how do we actually you know, drive something worth tracking and or monetizing? And that's kind of where we're at. We know the engagement is there, and we can see that people in these spaces are yearning for it. It's just putting those puzzle pieces.
Like, how do you take it out and like continue? It feels like it's in their gaming world, and then it kind of shuts off after, right? Like they leave the space, and then you don't see a spike in streaming. You don't see anything else that can indicate that it is effective outside of the ecosystem.
Right. I mean, yeah, I like this phrase. I don't even remember where I heard it, but there's this phrase that gamers want a game, right? And it just always stands true where, you know, even these kids that are in these platforms that are more of a social experience with their friends, they are there just to play video games, whether they're thinking about actively gaming or not. If it's more social or video game, right? So for them, I personally don't see, you know, kids initially going in let's just use Roblox as an example, like going into this platform and looking for music discovery. Or if they do come across a music discovery, it's not like, oh, let me go to Spotify, let me go to these other platforms, let me kind of, you know, there isn't that conversation happening because they are just there for the game. And it's like this, but this is part of the game that they're in. And so I think it's figuring out that action of, how do we get them to maybe care about it more or implement it in a way that, similar to TikTok, how there is that music discovery thing on TikTok, right? Why is that? Is it because it's more passive and so the music stands out more? I mean, there's all these questions. And that's that's the tricky sticking point, I guess we're at. Really.
It is. It's like a little psychological too. It's really interesting. I love to see this space just like continue to blow up. I don't 100% understand why the Fortnite app was taken off the App Store, but it looks like it was put back on after 5 years. So that's a positive thing. And honestly, the Fortnite concerts like Travis Scott and Ariana Grande, like those are a big deal. Like they are really they are really eventizing those music moments in a really effective way.
Yeah, I mean that's a perfect example of fans, right? The gamers coming to know and expect that of the platform. And so you do see, you know, these interactions or spikes or content creation, this stuff happening outside of the experiences occurring on Fortnite. And that could just be because they've kind of they've figured out this thing that works for their platform, and people, the fans come to know and love it, and it works. Or maybe it's just a slightly older demo, or it's the right demo that is there, for music. I mean, they've been smart at taking different parts of their platform from festival. You can have a music artist as an avatar, and then there's also the Fortnite or the concert experience, the icon experience, right? So it's all these things, I think, kind of melding together across the entire platform that also is constantly feeding the machine, which not every platform has the ability to do or the funds to do necessarily, right? So they're a unique example, but kind of the ideal example, which is why so many people in the music industry love to talk about Fortnite, because it's the one you can point to and say, okay, this seems to be working. How do we do more of this, right?
Well, yeah, it's a recipe. Exactly. You have to be as big as Fortnite. And to just wrap up, what are you most excited about right now in the gaming space?
Oh, that's a tough question. Most excited about.
This is why you're so good at this, is because you not only know a lot about it, you are part of it. So it's like, it's cool to talk to you about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, a big part of my role is definitely in the innovation space. And so there is something I'm personally working on our side that is going to involve a startup game. And I'm personally excited for hopefully the music strategy we have in place for this title, hopefully being a big conversation topic and something you can point to, or the music industry can kind of point to and say, oh, that's a unique way that they've figured out maybe how to find this meld of where music can exist more naturally in gaming and actually encourage, more streams or more interaction, or just, more overall importance put on the music that people respond to, rather than it just feeling like either a background noise kind of comes and goes. So that's personally something I'm very excited about, and hopefully, and then in general, right, I can say I want to see more platforms other than the Fortnites coming out and finding new ways to think about with their titles how music can just be a more natural gaming fit rather than just like something you kind of stamp on top.
I love that. That's a smart way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us and for being on our podcast. Appreciate it.
Anytime.